Welcome to the Bold Podcast. I'm Todd Birch, entrepreneur, mental fitness coach, and keynote speaker. I believe every person has a spark, but life, pressure, and doubt have a way of dimming it. Here's the good news. You can reignite it at any moment. That's what this podcast is all about. When you fuel your spark, everything changes. Let's ignite it together. On this podcast, I've learned something powerful. The best leaders aren't defined by position, they're defined by decision. Leadership isn't just a title, it's a choice. And sometimes that choice is forged in a single moment that changes everything. Today's guest, Drew Norton, had a life-altering moment that redefined how he leads himself, his family, and his business. Since then, he's transformed his health, built high-performing sales teams, and is now on a mission to help men pursue abundance in faith, family, fitness, and finance. Listeners, I'm so excited for this conversation today. Drew, welcome to the Bold Podcast, my friend.
Yeah, Todd, thank you. Excited to be here with you and be here with your listeners today.
Yeah, it's so good to see you again. And we've had a couple of conversations over the past few weeks, and I love what you're doing, man. So let's just share it and pour into everybody who's listening today.
Yeah. I hope my hope is I'll share something that to someone it will maybe be a little bit of hope or inspiration. And yeah, no, I love doing this. Love coming on podcasts. We really enjoyed having you on, and excited to be on yours today.
Absolutely. So let's start. Take us back to that life-altering moment with your son. And what happened and what shifted internally for you in that experience?
Yeah, let me start with a little bit of context around that event. I had a few months prior made a career change and was yearning, longing for more, and thought that part of the reason I made this change was to make more money. And I think the what's the stereotypical thing most people say when you ask them what they want? It's usually like time or money or freedom. I find it's very common, and there were obviously some deeper things I wanted outside of that. And so we'd made a decision to, my wife and I had decided I was going to make a career change, and this career change was going to require me to work about 2.5 hours from my home.
Oh, wow.
And we weren't sure, hey, is this it? Are we going to do this long term? So it started off with me getting an apartment a couple hours away.
Oh,
and
boy.
Then I'd be down 5 or 6 days a week, and my wife and kids would sometimes visit for a couple days at a time. One day, I was wrapping up with work and my sales job, and I called my wife to say, "Hey, I'm going to be home probably 15 minutes. If you want to get the kids ready, we'll start heading back home." And so I'm driving to the apartments, and as I pull in through the gates, I remember hearing ambulances and looking over and kind of passing ambulances as I'm driving through the apartments, the apartment complex. And when I opened the door to the apartment, in over that 15 minutes, some scary things happened. I opened the door, my stomach dropped. I just felt, it was terrible, because I just saw my wife and our 6-month-old son. My 6-month-old son's laying on the floor. My wife's in tears over him. My son's barely breathing. He's wheezing. I can tell something's wrong. And it seemed about as quick as I opened the door and stepped in, that ambulance and the paramedics were rushing in behind me to take our little boy to the hospital. What had happened over those few minutes is when I called my wife, she decided, okay, let me go get the baby up. And he'd been sleeping in a little a pack and play, or basically a little portable crib.
Yep.
And when she went to pull him up from the pack and play, he was limp. He was face down. He was limp. He was gray. He wasn't breathing. He wasn't responsive. And she immediately started performing CPR on him. And if we had time, I could probably spend an hour just on this story and all the miracles and the ways we felt God, intervened. the good news is he's okay. But what happened in that through that time is when they took him to the hospital, he was misdiagnosed with a heart condition. So for the next 6 to 8 weeks, at any moment we were afraid, hey, could this just happen again? And so grateful he is okay. What it turned out and what we believe happened now is we knew he'd had a hernia at the time, and he was actually scheduled for surgery. And he'd rolled over in the pack and play. And after inspecting the pack and play, there was one of the slats at the bottom was broken. And we think what happened is he got his face caught in that broken slat and probably just couldn't lift his head up out of it and was suffocating to death.
Oh my God.
And so grateful the story ends well. He just turned 7 years old. He's happy and healthy. But my wife, she really struggled through that, and it was very, very traumatic for her. And she went through, she went and got professional help, to process that event. And, we believe prayer was a big part of it, but it took a couple of years before she was back to normal. And one thing I noticed though, through that event is because I had made this career change, I had really doubled down on my own personal development through that time. Paying for training, reading more, watching more YouTube. Most of it was sales focused, trying to improve my sales skills, because I went from a sales job where I was W-2 and commission to salary and commission to commission only. So I was like, I've got to if I'm making this big leap and we're going to make a sacrifice and some changes, I'm going to make this work. And what was interesting, I noticed over that next year and a half, my wife and I had some of the best conversations we ever had. I felt I was doing a better job of listening and communicating than I had previously in our marriage, and just started to realize, man, all the work I've done to get better at my job and my ability to sell is actually helping me communicate and helping me help my wife process what she's going through and help her talk through things. And I'm listening better, and just had this realization that, man, the more I work on me, the more it actually helps everybody around me. And I don't say that to say I healed my wife or I'm the reason she's doing better now. I think there's a lot of things, and I recognize that 6 months prior, I wasn't the husband she needed, and felt like as I worked on me, I was more prepared to step up and help her. And then that led to I continued to work on me, and that's led to success after success. I lost 100 pounds. I became the top sales rep in my company. I built teams that were doing over $20 million a year in revenue and leading our company, and have just found the more I work on me and myself as a man, the better I am able to show up as a father, as a husband, as a leader to others.
Whew, man, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in, and a lot to unpack there, Drew. First off, I'm so glad your son's okay. Man, as a parent, as a father, and I think anybody who's listening can relate. I mean, I got chills while you were telling that story. And that's certainly the type of traumatic events that will provide an opportunity for us as humans to take a deep look and say, maybe I need to make some changes, right? And you certainly did. And you were already kind of on that path, but there's several lessons here, right? And I think for me, one of the biggest lessons is we need to make ourselves priority. And in order to do that, we really need to take the time, and I think, as parents, and especially women, pour everything into them, right? They are the last one, the last one to eat dinner, right? Kind of the old adage. they will do, and we will do too as fathers, everything that we can for everybody else, especially our kids. And we are the last ones that we work on. And I don't believe in that model. I don't subscribe to that. And I had before, we can't be the best version of ourselves if we don't devote some time, if we don't do some blocking and tackling in our calendars, if we don't really focus on ourselves and building that self-awareness, that mental fitness, our emotional intelligence, to be the best version. And once we are, oh my gosh, then we can pour into everybody that much more.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you're taking time away, but the time that you're able to give is more meaningful, right? It's more impactful, and you're able to be more present in that moment, and you're full of gratitude as well. So I think that's an important lesson, at least for me, is that if anybody's listening, and we're still kind of coming off the beginning of the year and into the second month, there's always time to make some shifts, and we really need to focus on ourselves. And it doesn't mean that we're bad parents, right? It could be 5 minutes in the morning that you just devote a few minutes taking a walk, or a little light meditation, or maybe even prayer or gratitude practice. Just a couple of minutes to yourself.
Yeah, no, I love that. And even through all of that, there reached a point where when I was at that peak and leading my company, I like to tell people I felt like I reached a point where I was successful on paper, but felt empty inside. So even as I was working through personal development and doubled down and went all in on certain areas of my life, there were other areas that still needed work. And I had months where I was making the most money I'd ever made, but I was working so hard and so much that my wife and kids got what was left of me. And that led to more soul searching and reflection and a desire to do more work on me, and how do I be more present and not just be worried about the future. And I used to I feel like the thing I used to say to myself all the time is, I'll be happy when. And when would get here, and I would realize I'm not happy. I thought I'd feel different when I hit this sales goal or went on this trip, and and there were some fun things and some great things I accomplished. And I also started to realize, like, if I can't learn to be happy now, if I can't learn to be present now with my wife and kids, it's not worth sacrificing now to have something hopefully someday for them. It's like I want to have the relationships and the memories now, and continue to have more. And so I've also come to believe it's like you don't have to sacrifice finances for your family or for your health. Like you can have both, and it's not easy. It takes work, and I just want more people to find that, more men especially. I think I want women and mothers to find that as well. And but my mission has kind of become, I want to help the me from 5 or 10 years ago. I want to help the me from 5 or 10 years ago that could have used some of this knowledge or some of these lessons.
Yeah, absolutely, Drew. I wholeheartedly agree. And I think what it comes down to is how you as a person defines success, right? And I'm going to venture out. You're much younger than I am. You're a young man. Are you in your 20s, 30s?
Almost 37.
Okay. Okay, a little bit older than what I thought. Still, you're a young man, right? And in your career, and I love that you're focusing on men, because I do agree with you. I believe that men in particular need help. But first, they need to be able to raise their hand and ask for it, and be okay with that. And be okay with getting vulnerable by having tough conversations and looking within. It's not a weakness. In fact, it's just the opposite. And when you do, you're going to be so much more successful. And again, that what is success, right? So when you're younger, when you're in your 20s, and Drew, I was the same way. I'm working my tail off. I was blue collar, working my way up the top, and you don't have anything. And I didn't grow up for much, and I wanted big things. I wanted the BMW, and I wanted the nice house with the picket fence, and the kids that do well, and an awesome wife, and moving up the ladder into higher positions, leadership positions, VP, so on and so forth, right? And you're right, those things do come with some sacrifices, but we need to be careful not to lose ourselves in the journey, in the process. And as you get older, your priorities change, right? The season in life changes. And what you realize, hopefully, is that the one unrenewable resource is time. That's time. That's it, man. You can't buy, nobody can. Elon Musk can't buy time back. So all the money in the world. So that is what we need to cherish. And that, if you can really manage your time, that to me is where success is defined. That time spent with family, because it goes by so fast, especially if you have kids. The time spent with friends, with your partner, with your spouse. You can't get those things back. And, you look at a lot of these successful on paper, right? These CEOs of global companies that have won all these awards and have these great revenue profit margins for these large companies. And then on their deathbed, they have tremendous regret.
Yeah.
You can't take that with you, right? So I think it's really important for you to look inside and define really what is success to you, and are you going to have any regrets? I love Stephen Covey. He always says in his book, start with the end in mind. How do you want to be remembered? And what do you want to accomplish? What are people going to say about you? And it's a little morbid to think about, but it does put things into perspective. And are you going to have regrets? I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have taken a class, spent more time with my kids, made all the basketball games or whatever. And yeah, we're not perfect. And if you're really working hard and trying to get somewhere, it is going to take some sacrifice, but it doesn't have to come with losing yourself and losing all that valuable time. So finding something you love to do that's making an impact, and working for a company that aligns with your core values and has that flexibility and freedom and that family first principle, right? So sorry, I went on a little bit of tangent there, but
that's great.
What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think that's all so important. I mean, even there were times where, well, one, I started to realize, hey, because I'm chasing success, I'm missing kids' ball games and plays and concerts and so even when I started to make sure I was not missing those, I realized, man, I'm either on my phone checking messages in between, or even if I'm there, like I can't focus. I'm so worried about the things I'm chasing that I'm not even here when I'm physically here. Like I'm mentally somewhere else, and recognized, hey, I've got some more work to do. I've got some more work to do on me. And that led to me hiring coaches and just investing more and continually in myself. And then it's just helped me. I've partnered with one of my really good friends, and we've been real estate partners for a year to launch our group, The Abundant Man. And the framework we teach is identity, purpose, and battle plan. And so if you can get clear on who you are, and what it is you really want, and then just take action towards it, you can often get the things you want in life. And it sounds really simple to say. It's easy to say, a little more complicated in practice, but but part of what I've realized too is what I think about myself impacts the decisions I make every day. And so if I can change the beliefs about who I am, and or discover my identity and get clear on who I am, that impacts what I do on a daily basis more than anything else. And I've found as I've done the work on me and get clear on who I am and what it is I really want, it's made that plan easier to move forward. And you, I forgot how you said it a second ago, Todd. You said something about even, aligning with a company and making sure you're working in a place that's aligned with what you want. I think sometimes, you get on podcasts and you feel like, oh man, I've got to quit my job to get what I want. And sometimes that might be the thing. And sometimes I think you can find purpose in what you're doing. Like, hey, maybe I'm in a 9 to 5 that isn't the forever job, but maybe I'm learning a skill set that's really important. And there can be some purpose, even if it's not the final destination you want to be at. So just, I've found that framework has really helped me as I've gotten clear on who I am, what I want, and we call it a battle plan, or just creating a plan to take action that can often help you get the goals and the dreams you're chasing.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to what you were saying about, sometimes it might not be the perfect job. And depending again on season in life, when I was starting off in my career, that wasn't my dream job. But I needed to get experience, right? And I needed to build on the craft that I went to school for. But I think what we can do is make a choice in our mindset, and we can reframe. So if we can reframe and shift from I have to, which is an obligation statement, to I get to, which is an opportunity statement, right? It's all in our mindset. And when we do that, our whole perspective changes, right? And the way that we approach that job. And we're just going to be happier. So maybe you just need to continue on, but come in with an opportunity mindset. And not so much, I have to do this as an obligation, because you're just going to be in a negative mindset. You're going to be spiraling, sabotaged, most of the day, which is not good for you or anybody, that you serve. So, but Drew, I want to go back to losing 100 pounds, because, man, congratulations. There are not many people in the world that can do that. I mean, that is a tremendous feat, my friend. So I want to, just dig into that a little bit, because one of my focuses as a speaker and a coach is getting people to embrace change and really choose growth over comfort. And that's not an easy feat, right? So take us through, the cliff notes of what made you want to do that, and how did you do that? What was that first step like? Because to me, I think about that and it just sounds so overwhelming. Like I'll never be able to accomplish that, right? And I think that's where most people get hung up. There's just no way, it's not possible. So what were the shifts in your mindset, or some of the small shifts in action that you took to make that happen?
Yeah, great question. And I don't know if it was more impressive that I gained the weight first, or or that I lost it. We were talking about my height, our height before we started the episode, and I'm about 6'3". I graduated high school at like $155. Like I was, just skin and bones, basically coming out of high school. And, it happened slowly. I didn't gain that weight all at once, but you go into college, you gain a little weight, you get married, you stop going to the gym, you have little kids, and that's like, maybe I haven't had teenagers yet, so I guess maybe I can't say this, but little kids is such a hard time of life when you're a new parent and you've got 2 or 3 little ones.
Mm-hmm.
And just that happened over time. But I remember, to your point, like if someone had told me I could have lost 100 pounds, I'd have been like, yeah, that's impossible. Or one of the goals was to get a 6-pack. It's like to do that, I would have been like, yeah, that's impossible. And where it actually started though is I have to go and lovingly blame two different people for helping me get there. One was my brother, and he went on the carnivore diet, lost a bunch of weight, and I remember thinking, well, I like meat, and it's a simple diet, and I don't like to cook myself. So I was like, I think I could do that. And so that was kind of one of the first starting points for me, was just starting to change the way I eat. Now, I actually don't recommend the carnivore diet for most people. It's something I did for a while. It worked really well. I probably lost about 60 pounds just from doing that. And I'd go kind of be on carnivore and keto. I'd get off of it. I gained 30 back, so my weight would kind of fluctuate a little bit. And I kind of developed a bad relationship with carbs. And my view of food, although it was helpful, it helped me kind of create some discipline and more self-control doing that. I also thought, hey, if I can't eat any carbs, or I'm going to blow back up, and that's simply not true. But it started with just seeing somebody else do it, seeing someone close. I have this thing we say in our men's group: belong, believe, become. Like when you feel like you belong somewhere, it helps you believe in yourself. When you believe in yourself, it helps you become something greater. And I think just having a brother do that I felt like I belonged to helped me believe I could do it. And then it helped me become something greater. But the other half is I had a buddy that just dragged me to the gym and basically said, let's go in the mornings. And I started going at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so those two things didn't happen at the same time. And eventually where I feel the biggest shift happen, and I feel like a lot of times with weight loss, and this could be any goal, we come up with this to-do list, and it can be overwhelming, especially when the beliefs about ourselves don't line up with the to-do list, if that makes sense. If I believe, hey, I'm overweight, I don't have a lot of energy, I'm not motivated to go to the gym, and then we try to do things that contradict what we believe about ourselves, even if they're good for us, it makes it really, really hard. But when I was coaching, I'd probably had lost 50 pounds or so. And I mentioned hiring a coach, and we worked through some of my limiting beliefs. And one of the affirmations I came up, or the declarations that I now say to myself almost every day, is I'm healthy, fit, active, and strong. And so I just started to believe that, hey, I am someone who's healthy, fit, active, and strong. I wear a Fitbit, and if I go back to that time when I started saying that myself, like my step count actually doubled. Which there's probably some of that. I was intending to walk more and move more, but it was interesting how I can even see when I started saying that to myself, like a lot of things became easier when it came to my health, because it was no longer, I have to go do this. Like, no, I am somebody who's healthy. I am someone who's fit. I am someone who's active. And that doing became easier because I was just being who I believed I was. If that makes sense. And that led to me hiring a fitness coach, and he helped me lose another 40 pounds, which I would have thought was near impossible. I got down to about 5% body fat. I've added some back on intentionally. We just got done doing a bulk and getting ready to start another cut. But I've really come to enjoy my health and who I am, and a lot of it has just come from changing the way I view myself.
Oh man, that is so good, so good. And I love that this was a process, right? Well, how long was this process? 6, 12 months?
I lost 50, 60 pounds in the space. That first amount of weight loss happened fairly quick on the carnivore diet. It was probably 6 months, but it was probably over 2 or 3 years that I lost that amount in total. Because I would gain 30, lose 30. So I kind of lost the initial 50 pounds and yo-yoed 20, 30 pounds at a time. And then it was probably about 2 years later where I started the affirmations, made a really crazy goal to get a 6-pack, lost another 10, 15 on my own and plateaued. And that's when I was like, okay, I've got to hire someone who can help me get the rest of the way there. And he helped me figure out the the things in my macros or my calories to kind of get over the final hump. So
yeah. Yeah, that's tough. It's interesting. Regardless of what change you're about to embark on, right? Whether it's something to do with your health or weight loss, or even in your career, you still have to make that choice, right? You have to make that choice to change. And I think what you did was you found who you've always been, right? And you kept reminding yourself with those affirmations, visualization, manifestation. And I do believe in those. And what you say is what happens, what you see, what you think. It's just abundance. It's there. It's going to happen. What you put back in the world does come back to you. It may sound a little bit out there, but what's the worst thing that could happen by doing that is what I always tell people that I coach. So just by starting small, right, and breaking that big chunk down into small little projects, small little tasks, instead, like you said, of having this long list of tasks that just seems so overwhelming. And then just somehow finding that spark and remembering who you've always been. And that can come in a variety of different ways. Sometimes it comes with a trigger or traumatic event, which thankfully, you didn't have, at least to make this decision. That's very typical that somebody goes to the doctor and gets a bad diagnosis or bad report, says, hey man, like you're on the verge of a heart attack. You need to make some changes. Or, a loved one passes away that has kind of the same thing. You're like, oh, this could be me. Now I need to make a change. But you found a different way, an inspiration from others, support, and then that spark, that you've always had. So good for you, man. Like it's a great story, and you just have to embrace the journey, and it's not done, right? We continue, right? And that's the thing, like you shifted your mindset, and now you've became a different person, and you have a whole different respect for health, food, fitness. And now you're trying to take that back out, into the world and help other people through that. And I think as a salesperson, we see this a lot. Salespeople, there's lots of travel, crazy hours, tremendous amount of stress. And we unfortunately do see, overweight happen with people in those positions. We'll be right back after a quick message. Hey, it's Todd again. Right now, leaders are facing unparalleled challenges with burnout, disengagement, and rising stress across our teams. And that's why mental fitness matters more than ever. Mental fitness is the ability to respond to pressure with clarity and confidence instead of stress, negativity, or self-doubt. It's about building that self-command, especially when it matters most. Through the Positive Intelligence Program, or PQ for short, I work with leaders and teams to reduce burnout, strengthen resilience, and create a culture where people feel supported, engaged, and capable of performing at their best. This neuroscience-backed program helps teams shift from reactive to resilient and turns change into a catalyst for growth and innovation. Look, I've been practicing PQ for years, and it fundamentally changed how I lead, work, and live. It's transformed my life. If you're curious whether PQ could support you or your team, I invite you to visit toddbirch.com to learn more about this transformational program. Now, back to the show. So let's talk about sales for a minute.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of who you are and your career. And you have this one saying that I love. You've said that life is sales, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll flip it. Sales is life.
Okay, sales is life. I would argue to say it's both.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
But let's. Yeah. So
right.
Sales is life. What do you mean by that?
You are selling every day, whether you believe it or not. And one of my pet peeves is the business owner that says, we don't sell anything here. It's like, Yeah, you do. You wouldn't have a business if you didn't sell something. Now, you may not want to call it sales, and you might not want to frame it that way. And I want to help people see that sales is a good thing. If I have two missions, it's I want to change the way people see leadership, both in themselves and in others, and then secondarily, I want to change the way people see sales. And so you you're selling when something difficult happens and your team needs you to navigate them through a difficult circumstance in your
Mhm.
business. You're selling them on how, hey, this is how we're going to get through something. You're selling your 9-year-old when he doesn't want to eat his broccoli at night before bed, and you're helping him see why he needs to eat all his food and why that's important. You're selling your spouse often over and over again. I mean, I had to sell her to marry me, and I've got to sell her to continue to stay with me, right? Um, and so what I found is you can't improve your ability to sell, and we could call it communication or negotiation, and we could label it something different if it helps somebody feel better about it. But you can't improve your ability to sell and not see it improve other areas of your life. And to me, sales isn't twisting someone's arm. It's not forcing someone to make the decision you want them to make. It's going through a process, helping someone discover, often that's through the questions we ask, but helping someone discover that they need to make a change and that staying the same isn't in their best interest. And
Mm.
like that is what selling really is it's not about me showing I have the best product or service. It's helping someone realize that, hey, if I don't do something different, I'm not going to get what I want.
Mm.
And I feel like that's really what you are helping people do when you're a good salesperson. And let me just share one example. If you think of a good sales person or leader or sales rep versus a bad sales rep, when I think about sales experiences I've had that weren't great, I can like attribute part of it to the sales rep. And you'll hear people say things like, oh, he twisted my arm, or oh, he lied to me, or oh, it wasn't what I was expected, or he pushed me over the edge. How often do we hear people celebrate their salesperson when they're extremely happy? Not very often. Usually they say, "Oh, I decided to do this. This was my idea. I
Mhm.
found the great thing. Like I made the jump, right?" And often so to me, a good salesperson is helping them through that, and they sometimes don't even realize that salesperson helped them make the decision at the end of the day. And so maybe that was a long answer to your question, Todd, but yeah, it's a topic I love.
Yeah, obviously, I could tell you got excited. You lit up. No, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense to me, and some really interesting points. I think you're right. My wife always jokes, and you're always selling. I'm like, but isn't that what we're always doing? And I think we can really, a lot of us can take this to heart a little bit more as ourselves, right? You are always selling yourself, or you should be, and not in a negative way or in a bad way. I think a lot of times people think of sales because of the car salesman,
Right.
snaky oil salesman. But you can still be authentic. You can still be empathetic, right? And I think you can still be servants. Those are the types of salespeople that I think do really well. So there's a whole nother, I think, side to being a salesperson.
And I think it's your intent too, Todd. Like if my intent is to help people and that's what's driving me to sell them, I'm going to do the right thing. Some of the most powerful um, times have been, I think, when I've told someone, you know what, I can't help you. This isn't for you. I'm going to recommend you go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people double down and want to work with me even more when I've told them that, or I get referrals from them,
Mm-hmm.
or just they're thanking me because I give them a connection that's really important. And once again, I don't think that selling people is about getting someone to say yes to your thing every single time. Sometimes it's, it's just finding out, is this for them? And if it's not, you don't sell it to them.
Right.
And that's okay too. Like, it's okay. Oh, it's okay to do that. Like, what I want to help people do, I want to, one, find out if I can help them. If I can, I'm going to do all I can to get them to say yes. And if they can't say yes, I'd rather them just say no and not drag it out and
Right. Right.
and move forward. So
Yeah, I love it. And that goes back to just being servant, right? And helping. And you'd be surprised, Drew, I've done the same thing over the years. And not everybody's a good fit. And part of being a good business person or a good salesperson is understanding that, right? Really finding the right clients. But there is an opportunity to plant a seed and to be servant and to help somebody. So just by saying, hey, I'm sorry, this might not be a good fit for us, but I have a few people in my network that might be a better fit, and I'm happy to introduce or make those connections. And you'd be surprised by how excited and happy people are, because I don't think a lot of people do it. I've had several people say, oh, man, thank you. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. And then next thing you know, their business grows, right? 2-3 years down the road, and they're ended up calling you back because you help them out. They remember those things. So yeah, it's, seeing it as an opportunity and just being a little bit more curious about the situation.
Yeah. In fact, I just, as an example, I had a man reach out to me last year, probably 8 months ago, interested in some coaching and some one-on-one help. And we met together, and he was looking at acquiring a business. And I told him, what, right now, and what you're doing, like, I don't think you need a coach. I think this is what you need. Let me share a couple resources with you. He ended up not buying the business, and I think it was a good decision. There were some red flags in that business, but came back to me the end of the year as we launched our men's group, and came back to me saying, hey, I'm interested in this for me. And as we talked through, I did make the invitation to him, and it wasn't easy. And there was, as with a lot of coaching programs, there's a financial cost to get started. And I was able to be really bold with him and invite him, and he's experiencing amazing results so far in our group, in our community. But he came back, and there was a level of trust there. I think partially because I told him the first time, like, hey, we're not ready to do this together. You're not ready for this, and what you're going through, you actually need some different help right now. And I think when we show up and serve people, it comes back and pays us at the end of the day. Sometimes right away, sometimes it's 6 months down the road or longer.
Right. Seeds planted, my friend.
Yeah.
Seeds planted. Let's talk a little bit about abundance, because this is something that you mentioned a lot. So what does abundance really mean to you when we talk about, especially in the 4 or 5 F's that you talk about: faith, family, fitness, and finance?
Yeah, a lot of this is faith-based. I believe that God wants you to have abundance. He wants me to have abundance. And often what keeps us from having it is ourselves. And I don't believe, as a man, as a husband, as a father, I have to choose between those different things. I think sometimes society tells you, if you want to have a successful business, you've got to grind and sacrifice, time with the family. And there might be seasons where there does require a bigger effort, spent in the business than with the family, or your health, or whatever it is. And so I believe it's okay to want things. As a Christian, I see a lot of Christians who have guilt around wanting more, like that they're being greedy, or it's not humble, or it's not okay. And I've also come to found, like, you have to want more to be able to serve people more. Like, you can't do more you can't give more time to others if you don't have any time to give. You can't donate or be charitable with money, for example, if you don't have any money to give. And so I think it's okay. In fact, I know it's okay. And I want people to realize, hey, I can want more in my life, and there's nothing wrong with it if my intention is to do good and bless others. And when I think about some of the most successful people in the world, let's use I just want to use Elon Musk for example. And whether or not somebody likes Elon Musk, that's a different story. We won't get into who he is as a person or what his beliefs are. But if you think about what it is that he wants, it's he wants to get everybody to Mars or make that possible. Right. And that's such a crazy big thing to want or desire or to get. But he has a dream that's so big. Look at everything it's created. Electric cars, they do solar panels and batteries, Starlink, like all of these things are like to make that possible. And it's creating jobs and opportunities. And, he's able to do so much and serve humanity. Like, once again, whether or not you believe in everything about him, that's a different story. But because he wants something way bigger than most people would ever want.
Right.
And I just find that, it's those that want to serve more on a bigger level. It usually starts with, hey, I've got to have more myself. And I think, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that for sure. Now you're on a mission to impact millions of men. Talk about having a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
Why is that mission so important to you, and why now?
Yeah. I'd have to say, one, I've felt that pressed on my heart from God. I feel that society, and as we kind of talked about in the beginning of this episode, that men are alone. Men are carrying lots of things often themselves. Often men don't share the struggles they have or what they're going through. And when we launched this, my partner and I originally said, hey, our goal, I think, is going to be 100 men. Like, let's get 100 men into this. And I was actually talking to somebody else, and he told me his goal to help millions. And so then we said, well, what if we did, like, said 10,000 in 3 years? And then just as we keep thinking bigger, it's, hey, what if we could help millions over the next decade? And we're early on, right? So that is a big, hairy, is it audacious?
Mm-hmm.
What's the A?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Audacious
goal. We've already started to attract amazing partners and amazing people that want to be a part of the mission with us, that I don't think would have happened if we just said we wanted to help 100 men. And so I've also found, as you talk about what you want and you share that, there's going to be people that look at you like you're crazy. Once again, is Elon Musk crazy for wanting to get us to Mars? Probably. And look what it's creating. And so at the same time, it's, as I have said, I'm going to be more open about sharing the bigger dream that I have. If we impact that tens of thousands and that's it, like, I'll still be pretty happy the end of the day. And I found as I talk bigger about what I want, it tends to attract more people to our mission that want to be a part of that. And we're creating awesome partnerships and have big things that we're going to be excited to announce as the year goes on.
That's great. I look forward to seeing that, Drew, and I believe that you'll do it. I love, and that just ties into the abundance mindset, right? What's the worst that could happen? You help 1,000 men. We still need that. We still need you. We still need your leadership. So, well, Drew, we're coming down to a close here, and we're hitting the exciting lightning bolt round, which is quick, easy, one-word answers. So I'm going to fire away at you. What's one word that defines leadership to you? If you could describe leadership in one word, what would that be?
Service.
Service. All right. What's one daily non-negotiable habit for you? Got to do it.
Active. That could mean a lot of things, but active. Yeah.
Okay. What's one book that shapes your leadership that you would recommend?
Ooh, let's say the score takes care of itself. That's not the first one I thought I'd say, but
Oh,
yeah.
Ryan Hawk?
I think that one's Bill. It was the coach of the 49ers. I really like that one. Bill Walsh. Yeah.
Bill Walsh. Oh, really? Okay. Ryan Hawk has a book titled similar. Okay. Yeah, I haven't read that one. Awesome. All right. Well, Drew, if someone listening today is feeling stuck, what would you say to them to help them reignite their spark?
I think I'd go back to what I said our formula is: identity, purpose, battle plan. If you're feeling stuck, find out who you are. And that's easier said than done, but what are the good things about you, and start focusing on those great things. Maybe it's something your grandma said when you're little. Maybe it's a way you live your life that blesses others, and focus on that. And then decide, hey, what is it I really want? And not what others tell you want, or what the world says you should want. What is something you really want? And then take a step towards that. Move towards that. There's so much that happens when you just take some action, and you move towards something you want. Miracles can happen in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Drew, this has been great, man. I loved our conversation. Thank you for sharing your personal stories with us. I know that's not easy, but there's a lesson right there in what you're doing as a young man, getting out there saying, it's okay to put this out there. I am not perfect. I've made some mistakes, failed. I've been through some things, but look where I'm at now. I'm happy, successful in my own right, and you can be too, and you can live with abundance. So I believe in what you're doing. I'm excited for the lives that you're going to change, and the men in this world, they need our help. They need our help. So looking forward to watching on the sidelines for what you're going to do in the future, and staying in touch, my friend. So thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Todd. It was fun.
Thanks for spending time with us on the Bolt Podcast. If today's conversation sparked something for you, please share it with someone who could use it. That ripple is how we create impact and light the way for others. Remember, growth doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from small, intentional shifts that build over time. Ignite your spark, fuel the fire, and light the way. We'll see you next time, my friends.